Hello, everybody. This is going to be our ACT analysis of the article about Walter Scott. Welcome to Reading for College Success, Mr. Burmaster's class, and that is me. And on the left side of your screen, you will see the picture of the man himself, Walter Scott. Who is he? The first paragraph, hashtag, he had childhood health problems, he became a lawyer, and then he became a writer. So, 3 strong pieces of information about Walter Scott that we had no idea about before we started reading this text. Childhood health problems, became a lawyer and a writer, covered his childhood and 2 elements of his professional life. Paragraph 2. The hashtag is he owned a printing press and he wrote successful work. So we see a progression of learning the 3 facts about his life, and we see that the last piece about him becoming a writer becomes to the forefront here, because he owned a printing press, which is where you publish written materials, and he himself was writing a lot of successful work. Paragraph 3, hashtag he has money problems, but he wrote a lot of successful works, but without his actual name. So he used a pen name, but he was a good writer. So let's see if there is any developments with the money problems. Paragraph number 4, hashtag he continues with the great writing and he gets famous recognition. Interesting. So it looks like he might have taken care of the money problems, because he's doing well in the 4th paragraph. In the 5th paragraph, now we're down to more money problems again. But it goes on to say that he wrote his way out of debt. So it showed he was responsible to take care of his debts instead of filing for bankruptcy or going indigent or homeless. But he worked his way out of debt. So this man is a writer. Walter Scott is a writer. Paragraph 6, hashtag he is known for popularizing the historical fiction genre and Scottish culture. So if nothing else, we need to keep in mind this did happen in Europe. Paragraph number 7, it ends with the hashtag he got credit for banknotes. Just interesting, kind of a side note to me as far as the entire text goes. It's very much of a detail, but it does just end on that detail. So I guess we just need to keep it in mind, see if it shows up in one of the questions. So let's get on to the questions. Number 21. The main idea of the passage is B. Sir Walter Scott's writings achieved both financial success and cultural impact. Do you realize, based on what I said about the 7 paragraphs of this text, is that B completely covers the key ideas and details of it? And you want to know what the strategy is? Eliminate wrong answers. Because if you look at answer choice A, B, and D, they're all details, whereas B covers the content of the passage. Number 22. According to the passage, Walter Scott turned to writing novels because J, his printing press business, was losing money. If you pause this video and re-look at lines 26 through 29, you will see where I got my justification for the right answer of J. 23. According to the author, Scott published Waverley anonymously because D, he was afraid writing fiction would take away from his reputation as a poet. Lines 34 and 35 reference the fact that he was known as a poet and that he was concerned about it. It's one of those right there questions and answers. Should not get this one wrong. 24. The author would most likely describe Scott's effect on how Scotland was viewed as J, positive, since Scott made Scottish culture acceptable again after years of neglect. The validation and justification for that correct answer choice of J is found in lines 85 through 87. I'd encourage you again to pause the video and check those lines out. 25. Based on the passage, it is reasonable to assume that Scott's reputation after his death, A, remained favorable. The strategy that we're seeing again and again is eliminating wrong choices. And the reason that it's A is because B, C, and D actually really have no textual evidence to support in them, so it is A. 26. As used in line 40, the word facade most nearly means F, pretense. I noted this not only as a vocab and context question, but actually a difficult one, because you gotta know what pretense means, because the correct answer is pretense, but it might be a word you don't know, and I would understand that. Pretense means making something appear true even though it's really not, and the specific connotation for it is in reference to people. We say that real people do not have pretense. They're down to earth. They are what they are. They say it like it is. They don't pretend to be something that they're not. So if nothing else, learn what the word pretense means, because you should know what that word means in your life in general. 27. The author most likely used fittingly when describing the presence of a statue of William Wallace near Scott's grave in Dryburgh Alley, because B, Scott wrote novels about Scottish history, and Wallace is a famous historical figure from Scotland. You know why it's B? Because I read through all 4 answer choices, and it's the one that just made the most sense. I really can't give you anything more specific than that, other than I read carefully, I read for comprehension, I look for main ideas, I look for details, I look for author's purpose, and when I looked at that question, I was able to come up with the right answer of B, because it made the most sense to me. 28. The passage suggests that the author's attitude towards Sir Walter Scott is H, interested and appreciative. It's a main idea and details question on a global sense, meaning taking the information that you've learned from the entire passage as a whole, and again eliminating wrong choices. It's H, because it's not F, it's not G, and it's not J, because they don't fit the profile of all the information we learned from reading the passage. 29. Based on the 5th paragraph, it is reasonable to infer that Sir Walter Scott's attitude towards his debt was D, accepting, since he acknowledged his responsibility and tried to pay them back. Again, 3rd time in this passage with these questions, we are eliminating wrong choices. A, B, and C, there's no evidence for them. It is D. There's textual support to support D. And the last question is 30. The author's use of babbling in line 7 suggests that F, Scott sought to establish himself in a field in which he had little experience. It is just an inference that you have to make. The author would likely assume or lead you to have an understanding that his use of dabbling is that he really was just in a field that he didn't have a lot of experience, because he was dabbling in it. And that, my students, is the end of the Walter Scott article. I hoped you learned a little bit about Walter Scott, and you know what's more important? I hope you learned a little bit about yourself.